Let's look at what we're going to talk about today, because I can't really remember. The news. Not much going on in the news these days, so can't talk about that. Except in 2 weeks, we're going to find out the answer to the question, will Bob Dylan accept his Nobel Prize? You all may choose to remember 2016 as the inextinguishable dumpster fire of a presidential election. I, however, am going to celebrate the fact that somebody who can't sing is going to win a Nobel Prize for poetry. And he's one of my heroes because even though Bob Dylan really can't sing, he's been a fantastic entertainer, which only proves that if you really don't have to be able to fly to be a fantastic flight instructor. So that gets me back on point, and I only have 30 minutes because we're running out of time and I don't want to get in the way of your first bathroom break. So I want to talk about flight training, and we all know it's the best job in the world except for the three little things: the airplanes, the customers, and the instructors. Now don't get me started on the first two. We're just going to talk about the instructors for a little bit. We're going to talk about their technical competence and their customer service skills, both of which I am going to give you an argument that they may not be where they should be. Now, a long time ago in a land far away, an aircraft manufacturing company put together a group of people. And these people were knowledgeable and energetic and extremely good looking. And they were put together to help help pilot centers. I can't say the word Cessna because, well, I'll announce it here. In 2020, I am running for President of the United States of America. Wait. I'm doing this for 3 reasons. One, I have too much time on my hand. The second is you don't have to have any qualifications. But more importantly, there is nothing that can absolutely disqualify you from being president. So I'm going to be there. So where did this group of people come from? All right, so we had this group of people, and it was organized in this company. First, it started out under sales, then it went to production, then it went to marketing, then it went back under sales, and then it went gone. And the real problem with the organization was not what they were doing for the flight school owners. Many of you went to some of those presentations. The fact was that all these well-meaning managers of these particular organizations didn't understand that pillared organizations never really work towards the common goal, which is branding of the company and getting the product out the door. They try, but they can't do it because they're too busy running their own little organization. That's why that organization doesn't exist anymore. And I consider that, from a management point of view, kind of a sophomoric attitude. And, pardon me for the English lecture this morning, sophomoric comes from the Greek, from the 2 words sophos, which means, okay, wise, and moros, which means, okay, good, fool. So literally, wise fool. That'll come up later in the test, so pay attention. Now, all these schools were gathering one evening in Wichita, and as it turns out, it gets cold in Wichita. I was supposed to give a presentation on the implications of tax, buying new airplanes and putting them in flight schools. I really wanted to be talking about flight instructors, but I didn't. And the reason I didn't is because it's really hard to talk about flight instructors. Even though we realize that these are the people who are the least invested in your company, yet, because they have the most direct contact time with your customers, actually drive the success of your company, and therefore your success. So we all know they're touch-and-go employees. It just depends on how long. Back in the days when all you had to have was 250 hours, a commercial pilot certificate, vision in one eye, and half a pulse, you could be hired by fly-by-night airlines in your dream to get up to eventually to the big boys.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
Based on the popular Sling 2 LSA, the Sling 4 was designed to be the most practical and desirable lightweight four-place experimental aircraft on the market. Find out more about this 115 horsepower turbocharged airplane at airplanefactory.com.
It seemed a pretty monumental task, and I was pondering how I was going to ever be able to do that. And I didn't think I was going to be able to until I met Skippy. And Skippy taught me all about deer urine. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I think. Or other stuff too. So it was cold, and I didn't have a sweater because we come from the southern part of the Republic of Texas. And I said, well, I'll go get a sweater. And right near where I was staying, they had this very large outdoor store. And they weren't common back in the day. Now they're all over the place, Cabela's, Pro Bass. But this one was a little bit different. This giant outdoor store, and I walked in, and I was a little bit surprised. This store was about the size of a super Walmart, and it was just full of aisles and aisles and aisles of mostly guns, ammunition, and edged weapons. I had never actually been in a store this big. I mean, they had so many guns in there that they could equip most of the, Central European armies easily. And I came at a bad time because there weren't a whole lot of customers in the store. But what there were, a lot of people who worked in the store, and they all had an orange and tan shooting vest. Now, I assume that was so that you would know that they were employees when they came up and harassed you. But I looked, and there's nobody in the store, and all I see is a sea of orange and tan shooting vests. Now, I don't like to shop. I'm a hunter. I wanted to hunt this sweater, kill it, get out the door, go home. But I couldn't get anywhere without somebody walking up, and you could see them coming over the aisles. And you try and move away, but now they change course. And they show up in front of you and say, can I help you with something today, sir? Or can I answer any questions, sir? Oh, no thanks, I'm just looking for sweaters. I'll walk you over there. No, that's okay. I can walk myself over there. But no, they would do it. Everywhere I turned around, the sweaters. So it was going to be a long day for me. So I found my sweater, I hunted it, and then I realized I had a whole bunch of time before I was supposed to meet somebody for pre-topic drinks, which is really what's missing this morning, isn't it? We should really do this after we're all a little bit liquored up, like in the evening, but we'll change the schedule next time. So we walk in, and I hear this noise. I hear this, and I'm wondering what this noise is. And I walk in, and I see this glass door, and there's an archery range inside the store. So I open the door, walk in, and here are three people who are practicing their archery. And they are dressed head to toe in camouflage gear. I mean everything. The pants, the jackets, the gloves, the hat, the face net. And they are shooting these bows, which I really had, it's been a long time since I shot a bow at that point. And the ones I remember when I was a kid, if you were shooting at something, from here to this light, you had to point it up here. They actually had to point the targets on an angle, if you remember, because that's the only way the gravity would allow them to stick, because if you shot it straight, it would just go right into the dirt. Well, these guys are shooting stuff. You can't see the arrow, and all you hear is and they're shooting at these little woodland creature 3D models, life-size deer models. And they're actually practicing. They're behind a little thing, and they get up really slowly. They draw really slowly. The thing goes downrange into this little deer. And the deer's not doing anything. It's just sitting there. I guess it's a Kansas deer. It's sitting there out in the field with its head down, nibbling it on some grass. Now, I grew up in Jersey. Like I said, the deer in Jersey are a little different. You drive by at night, the light shines on them. They're leaning up against a tree. Leather jacket, smoking a cigarette. Shine the light on them. Clearly a different set of animals at that point. So they're doing this, and I'm watching for a while, and somebody sneaks up behind me, scares the shit out of me. And it says, can I help you with something? Oh, geez, no, that's fine. And he goes, yeah, we have all this time. Would you like to try to shoot? And I turned around and I said, no thanks. Clearly I'm not properly attired. And I walked out the door. And as I was walking out, now I want to get out of the store really badly because I can see this sea of orange vests coming. And I'm walking pretty quickly, and all of a sudden, boom, there was Skippy. And I don't even know where he came from. I swear to God. There was a long aisle, nobody in it when I started. Boom, he apparates right in front of me. He's this howdy-doody looking kid. You know, he's probably 18. He looks all of about 14. Tall, skinny, crop of red hair, acne to match. Howdy-doody looking kid. And he says, "Can I help you with something today?" He had that uncomfortably not yet turned voice that teenage boys often have and have to go through embarrassingly. And I would have just said, "No, thank you." But two things. He was blocking my way, and I noticed that I was standing entirely in an aisle made up of deer urine. So I said, "Okay, I've had enough. I'll play." I said, "Well, yes, I have a question." And I looked at his name tag, and I forget what it was, but we'll call him Skippy. "Okay, Skippy, I have a question. I really don't know much about deer urine. Perhaps you could help me out, you know, kind of tell me about this stuff." Okay, I thought that would be enough. And to tell you the truth, this kid did the best job of selling something I have ever seen in my life. Not only did he break it down for me, that this vast aisle of deer urine had different kinds. There's buck urine, and there's doe urine, and there's doe and heat urine. I don't know how they get that stuff, but they have all this kind of stuff. And he's breaking it down, and he's talking about features and benefits, and he's picking up examples of each one and showing it to me. I was absolutely mesmerized. What could you say? I didn't want to interrupt him because it was going so well. I don't know how long I stayed there. I don't know whether it was 2 minutes or 10 minutes. But I listened to Skippy talk about this product that almost nobody would want to talk about for a long time, and I realized, man, this guy has got it down. So up until that point in my life, and I admit at no time after, did I ever really have a need for a bottle of deer urine. But I couldn't leave without getting something. I mean, I'm pretty sure I threw it away at the hotel because I didn't want to think about what would happen in the back of the 172 if it kind of popped open. But I bought it because Skippy did such a great job. And I was smiling at this point. I was really happy because, oh my God, here's somebody who really knows how to sell something. Features, benefits, examples, you know, asking me questions, interactive. So I go to the checkout counter, and there's a woman who's obviously worked there a really long time. And I'm sort of giggling and smirking like I am now because I do that a lot. And she goes, "How are you doing today?" I was surprised she didn't ask me if I'd found everything that I needed. I said, "How are you doing today?" I said, "I'm having a great time." And she looked at me and says, "Really?" I guess a lot of people don't have a good time at that store. So I said, "No, really." And then she's not saying anything, and she's just staring at me like, you know, that 1,000-yard stare. And I thought I had to say something, and I said, "Yeah, I've never been in a store that had a combination couch and love seat all in camouflage," because there was one right there at the checkout counter. And I said, "You sell a lot of those?" Okay, thinking this would turn the tide and we'd finish the checkout process. And she goes, "Oh yeah, we sold one of those yesterday." And I swear to God, I didn't mean to say it because, as Jerry said, I didn't have a filter. I said, "Really?" What they look like. 1,000-yard stare again. For you guys who are close to the cliff, I want to assure you, okay, this is a little hint just from me to you. Nowhere do the words camouflaged and love seat go together, okay? In no circumstance whatsoever is that going to work for you when the truck arrives at your house. I'm just saying, okay? So I run out of the store, but I said, if Skippy can sell deer urine, maybe we can teach flight instructors how to do a better job at customer service. So we started doing that.
Aero-TV is brought to you by
Concorde's recombinant gas RG series sealed battery technology produces a high-performance battery with the advantages of being pre-tested and fully charged at the factory. Find out more about Concorde's entire line of batteries at www.concordebattery.com. Concorde, the heart of your aircraft.